Hello and welcome to the Cannabis Can Podcast in episode number 3. Today we will discuss why pain pills suck and discuss America's huge epidemic and the problem going on with needless deaths because of opioid addiction. My friends, let's jump right into this very special episode of Cannabis Can. Why, hello, my friends, and welcome to episode number 3 of the Cannabis Can Podcast. My name is Dustin Lawrence, and I am your grateful host. And today's a very special episode. We're going to discuss why pain pills suck, and I really mean that. That's something I struggled with in my life, and I'm going to share a little bit about that with you. We're going to discuss some stats about pain pills and really get into the war on pain pills right now. This is an epidemic that the nation is facing, and I'm going to share a few stats with you. And then what I feel will be the most beneficial part of this podcast will be at the end. And this is especially for anyone that's out there struggling with this addiction. I'm going to share with you someone that has been on and off pain pills over 5.5 years, and went through the challenging process of getting off them over 4 times. And now I've been successfully off of them for over 3 years now. But I'm going to share with you exactly how I finally kicked the nasty, hellacious habit of taking over 20 pain pills a day with cannabis. So let's jump right into it. You know, my friends, and I'll share my quick story with you, with, again, the intentions out there just to help someone, because we're facing an epidemic in America. And I know that this podcast will reach people that are going through the same thing that I went through, or perhaps know someone, a friend or family member, that is facing this challenge of being addicted to pain pills. And my story, like I said briefly, we could get really deep into it, but I'm going to share with you that I became addicted to pain pills after a serious back injury while working on a production set in a film in Alabama. Fell down a flight of stairs, broke several backbones, and then fast forward to coming back to the state of Texas where I was living at the time, got involved in workers' comp. And then immediately, and no joke, every doctor I went to, as I searched for better doctors, everything that happened the first time was getting dealed, as I like to call it, or prescriptions wrote for pain pills. And my friends, this went on for a year. Fortunately, I really never took many of them. I had a stack of pills in the cabinet, but for whatever reason, I never took them until one day when I remember the day when I popped 2, and then that created a monster, and that began the challenge. Again, my friends, you know, anywhere from 4.5 to 5.5 years, how you look at it, on and off, going from taking over 20 a day on a normal, regular basis to exceeding 35. So I know the pain that it brings. I know what it does to your family. I know what it does to your body. I know what it does to your relationships. I know what it does to your bank account. And it's just horrible. So again, my intentions are, by sharing this story with you, is not for anyone to feel sorry for me, but for it to reach out, because I know there are others struggling with this, right? And it just tears up your life. And I can remember, you know, making the effort to get off the pain pills, searching for doctors that maybe would not write as many. And I left one doctor that was writing 4 a day to go another one that wrote 8 a day of hydrocodone 10 milligram. Just, my friends, it was nonstop. And, you know, the system is to blame, and we have woken up the system. You know, there's a lot of regulations now on what the doctors can write. But unfortunately, at my time of the addiction, that's all they knew. And I remember being really upset with the doctors, you know, at the point wanting to write a glorified drug dealer lives on one of their offices. But I didn't. That was just a bad thought. You know, but I was so upset. But, you know, when you look back on retrospect, they didn't know any better. But it's amazing when you find the doctors in the legal states now and the information that we have and the ability to get off of them, you know, because cannabis is the way to get off of them. And I'll get to that in a moment. But again, it took me 4 times, 3 unsuccessful attempts to get off the pain pills. And then the 4th, I've never looked back, and that involved cannabis. And we'll get to that, how I did that, and I'll share that with you in just a moment. But I want to jump to some stats here that are just really alarming, really alarming. And these stats come from the Addiction Center. You can look them up on addictioncenter.com. But we're talking about the painkillers, and the addiction to fine. And as I said, you heard my story of how I started, and they back that. Addiction to painkillers can start with a person's prescribed dose, and it doesn't matter how many, right? You can get a prescription for 10, and that can, boom, set everything off. You see, painkillers are some of the most prescribed drugs in America, inviting the highest levels of addiction. And that's due to both their potentially euphoric nature and then also paired with that quick development of dependency. And it happens quick. As I shared with you, I went over a year, I believe, without touching them and building up a stockpile that I went through like a madman. But went over a year to when I did finally take those first two, it snowballed. So the addiction is defined as a physical dependence and a psychological compulsion. And that's right. I remember days of just counting, getting the pills out and counting how many I had until the next time I could go to the doctor. You see, continued use of painkillers can cause the user to develop a physical dependence on them. Well, yeah, it can. And it does, because physical dependence is marked by tolerance and withdrawal systems. So you heard me mention to well over 20 daily. Well, there's your tolerance, and over 35 at one point. And withdrawal systems, yes, my friends, very challenging withdrawal systems. It's incredible what happens and how horrible it is. And man, I can remember going a week and a half without being able to do anything. Get up, no motivation. I didn't want to eat. I couldn't sleep. Pure hell, to be brutally honest, without using too foul of words, but pure hell. So that psychological consumption means a person will continue to use the drug in spite of the negative consequences. Man, I can tell you, it was tearing up my relationships. I remember a co-working asking me, "What are you, on drugs?" And I blowing up on them, but then thinking in retrospect, man, I was jacked out of my mind. Let's look at some of the painkiller addiction statistics. Now, these statistics were released from the Addiction Center in the latter part of 2016. And here we are as this airs, the 6th month of 2017, so they're relatively new. So an addiction to prescription painkillers is more common than you really might think. You see, there are some alarming statistics for this painkiller abuse, and these are according to the National Institute on Drug Abuse. So we're getting them from a very good source. So check this out, my friends. 4.7 million people. There are an estimated 4.7 million people that are dependent on painkillers in the United States. 4.7 million. You think there's a need for people to hear this, right? There's a 300% increase. The sale of painkillers has increased by over 300% since 1999, creating more instances of abuse and addiction. Well, we sure know that. Look at the celebrities. Prince, pretty recently. I mean, it goes on and on. 7% become addicted. Up to 7% of people who are prescribed opiate or similar painkillers will become addicted. That's an alarming statistic when you think about 4.7 million people are dependent on them, right? An alarming statistics. My friends, it's just jaw-dropping when you think about these stats that I just shared. And we could get into, basically it breaks down into now some more relative stats, is that a person every 19 minutes to 20 minutes dies from a drug overdose in the United States of America. And that doesn't have to be the case, because when you talk about drug overdose and what has happened in states that have made marijuana legal for medicinal or recreational reasons, or both, you're looking at an average across the board of 25% reduction in drug overdose deaths, and some are up to 32% fewer people have died from overdose. My friends, think about that. 32% of the people, right, 32% less just simply by living in a state that has legalized marijuana or cannabis for at least recreational or medicinal use. And that's where it wants to take me to the part I want to share with you about on the show, is that how I used cannabis to kick this nasty habit to the curb, this addiction, this life-changing hell that I was going through and that people are going through daily. And I want to tell everyone out there, if you know someone, if you're going through this yourself, don't hesitate to reach out to me. We have links at cannabiscanshow.com that'll take you to the Facebook page. You can send me a message on cannabiscanshow.com. Join our Facebook page, whatever it takes. Contact me by email. I will do my best to help you because I've been there. I've been there. So I went through easily 4 times of quitting it. Now, 3 of them were just not successful. And I did not have cannabis, and they were just horrible times. They lasted anywhere from a week and a half to 2 weeks of recovery. And let me tell you, I've never been addicted to heroin or done it, but obviously I've done something very similar because opioids are derived from the plant. But I know the withdrawal symptoms, and they include not being able to sleep. You're not hungry, right? You have a lack of energy. There's basically, it's took everything I could just to lift my head out of the bed. But then I fast forward to that 4th time when I was able to use a combination of cannabis in flower form. When I say that, you're not familiar with that term, I was smoking it. And the first time I smoked it on the medicinal level, some that was given to me from Oregon. And it was actually one of the first times that I smoked some medicinal level cannabis. It was just jaw dropping. Immediately, I had a little energy. I wanted to eat, and I slept that night. And that was after almost 6 nights of no sleep. And I'm not kidding, tossing and turning. You can imagine what the body ends up happening to the body at that point after so many sleepless nights and not enough nutrition going into it, on and on. And then magically, cannabis in one puff changed everything. And I'm not exaggerating. And so then I followed it up with CB drops as I became more educated. The next day, my friend, had access to them. And then we ended the whole protocol with high levels of THC cannabis oil. And I slept like a baby. I gained my weight back. I gained my drive to live back. And fast forward, here we are now, 3 years later, haven't even wanted to touch the son of a guns, right? And I want to cuss here a little bit, but we got to keep this on a G level, at least PG for iTunes. So if you're not in a legal state and you're suffering with this challenge, I'm not going to tell you to break the law, but I am going to tell you at least do this. I know that smoking the herb did wonders for me. I know that CBD did wonders for me. You can order that in the mail, and I know that oil did wonders for me. But if you have any chance to go wink to a legal state or do whatever you have to do, get a hold of some cannabis because it will help you get over this horrific challenge that you're facing. So, my friends, we're going to follow this episode up with many more shows on pain pills, the addiction, even more of my story, getting a little deep to it. But, we keep our episodes anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes long here so we can give you, really good content Monday through Friday. And we're going to continue to do that. So I just want to reach out to anyone, again, that's facing this challenge or knows someone. Get a hold of me. I'll help you out. If you have access to get some cannabis to them, do that because that will change their world. I'm not lying. Again, compared to kicking the habit with cannabis, 2 days max, without it, almost 2 weeks. So, look at that when you're thinking about it. But do whatever you can to get a hold of me. Facebook group, podcast, email me through one of the links at cannabiscanshow.com. Again, that's cannabiscanshow.com. And I'll do whatever I can to help you. So I want to end this episode number 3, and we're early on Cannabis Can here, and I'm starting to smile. I want to dedicate this show to my dog, Fanny, who passed away today. And, she helped me go through many, all of those times that I talked about going through the hell of kicking the habit. But Fanny was there for me, and I had Fanny for 14 years, and she blessed my life and helped me get through all this. So, Fanny, I love you, girl. I know you're getting that tennis ball in heaven. So to everyone else, thank you so much. I'm very grateful for the success we've had early on in the show, and thank you for listening. And again, you can keep up to date, follow us, and do everything, learn everything we're about. Follow all the podcast episodes, everything at cannabiscanshow.com. My friends, cannabis can change the world, and so can you. Stay lifted. Thank you for being a part of this very special episode of Cannabis Can. Stay up to date with all the latest podcast episodes, our how to grow methods, our up-to-date list of the top quality CBD suppliers, and much, much more at cannabiscanshow.com. Again, that is cannabiscanshow.com. Hey, my friends, stay lifted.